Why don't we move along?
Please.
Stop talking about football. Let's jump into the newly started NBA season.
That ball sucks.
Yeah, apparently the ball is no good. Shaq doesn't like it. If Shaq doesn't like it, then apparently nobody likes it.
A lot of players actually have come out and said they don't like the new ball.
Well, and honestly, why change it though? No, not change it to the not change it back. But why did they change it?
Because David Stern's trying to make more money, and because he's the shrewdest, smartest commissioner in professional sports. I fear David Stern. I hope he runs for president in 2008 because he's a scary man and he could take control of this country.
Brian,
he could do it. He's a scary dude. He scares your owner.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look what he's done to Mark Cuban.
He's going to the school of David Stern now, University of David Stern.
He can't do anything. But let's move on to the actual teams. Why don't we start off with at Cleveland, the hometown team, LeBron James. It's always a team that people talk about. Is this finally the year that they can catapult themselves in the finals? Granted, they pushed Detroit to the limit last year. They're off to an early start there. I believe they're 3. I think they're leading the division 4 or 5.
I don't actually.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure they're leading the
division.
Yes.
I'm not sure what their actual record is, but LeBron James has looked good. But is he going to get the backup that he needs? Larry Hughes came on early in the last season, but he's injured for most of it. Is Larry Hughes, Daniel Marshall, Gauskas, is that enough supporting cast for LeBron to actually put this team into the finals?
Eastern Conference? Yes. In the Eastern Conference, I would say yes. I think the conference is a little weaker than the Western Conference still, although that gap has been narrowing as evidenced by the Miami Heat winning the title.
Right.
But I think LeBron James, Larry Hughes, he was hurt a lot last year. I think he had to deal with a death late in the season. So he had his troubles last year. He had a lot of baggage. Doesn't have that this year. Shannon Brown has been a good addition for them through the draft in terms of being able to shoot from the floor. Verjao is now going to be healthy for a full season, presumably. And one thing last year, I don't think Larry Hughes and Anderson Verjao played really at any point during the season, both at the same time, both 100% healthy. One thing I would look for, though, is the Junior Gauskas. He's 31 now. He had his own history of injury problems. And one thing they say about big-time centers who can score, there's no gradual decline.
Right.
They simply lose it at once. And thus far, Gauskas hasn't looked very impressive to me. And I think that would be something they'd have to monitor. Now, the Cavaliers may have some, some trade chips maybe. They brought Drew Gooden back.
Right.
He's been a tremendous rebounder, but they've got some trading chips, some possibilities. They may, like a Danielle Marshall, they may want to go out and move to get
some people around.
Another center. Maybe a
guy that can spell
He's
31 years old, and
he looks like he's 50.
He has not looked very good thus far this season. I mean, granted, he's not a Shaquille O'Neal who's a mammoth on the court, and it will take some time for him to eventually just completely lose it because he can still back you down and put it in the hoop. But like you said, like you said, Gauskas not looking very impressive.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at the Eastern Conference, there's pretty much probably 3 legit teams: the Bulls, Cleveland, and possibly Detroit, just because of experience.
The Heat's too old. They're beat up.
The Heat, what I've seen, I mean, you could probably put the Heat up there too, but right now, they took another beating last night.
And wait, are you counting out the Atlanta Hawks? 3-1, leading the division, baby.
I mean, we'll wait for that.
You're counting out the Hawks?
I'm counting out the Hawks for
Joe Johnson, Zaza Pachulia?
Counting out the Hawks.
Zaza!
I've heard Charles Barkley talk about the Hawks going to the playoffs, possibly. No chance in hell if they're getting to the finals.
Zaza Pachulia.
But now let's move up to the West. Like you said, in the West, though, there's a handful of teams that are competing in the West. You got basically the Clippers. You have the Suns. You have the Spurs.
Isn't that so weird to say that, too?
The Clippers. The Clippers, the Suns, the Spurs, even the Hornets. Dallas off to a rough start, but you still can't count them out. You have... there's a handful of the Timberwolves. Even, I mean, you gotta really just look at the West and go, wow, there's a lot of teams. Houston, Trailblazers.
The Jailblazers. They got LaMarcus Aldridge and Brandon Roy, who has been, by all accounts, spectacular. He's expected to win the Rookie of the Year this year. Memphis, Paul Gasol.
Tough decision though. Or no, division. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Tough division.
Yeah.
I mean, right now
they lost Paul Gasol, but they did pick up Rudy Gay, who has once again been, by all accounts, great. Another team that I want to throw this in the Eastern Conference, I want to make my dark horse pick to be the Milwaukee Bucks. They picked up Charlie Villanueva. They've got Andrew Bogut. Michael Redd, I think that's a team that can score in bunches, especially with one of the biggest heists in NBA history, getting rid of T.J. Ford, a 5'11" point guard with back problems, for Charlie Villanueva.
That is kind of
6'11" power forward who can shoot
had a good season
in
Toronto, and that is a steal. I mean, T.J. Ford was supposed to be one of the better point guards in the league, but he had his issues with his back. He was injured. Still a legit player. We'll see what he can do in Toronto. But
I mean, the league is moving towards the smaller guard who can penetrate the basket. But at the same time, I still go by the old adage: you don't trade big for small. That's always been an adage in the NBA. But my question for you is, when has a 6'11" power forward who can shoot the three and clean the glass ever been like somebody you can get rid of? When has that ever been something? You don't do that. No. Especially with one with the pedigree of Charlie Villanueva from UConn, one of the best programs in the country. Right. Yeah. But Western Conference, yeah, you're right. Lots of teams out there.
Utah 6-1.
Utah, the Jazz, baby. Jerry Sloan, running that old pick and roll.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes on. But
I mean, what about the Rockets?
Yeah, I threw in the Rockets. I mean, that whole division, the whole Southwest division, Dallas, the Spurs, Memphis, Houston, and the Hornets. Those are all legit teams for the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, Dallas is off to kind of a rough start, probably an NBA Finals hangover, but they've won 2 straight. They beat Phoenix and needed a team, I guess, that they beat in the playoffs to get them back in the swing of things, but we'll see how that works.
I think Phoenix is on the downswing. That's another conversation for another time.
Do you want to move on?
Yeah, please.
Why don't we talk about the Major League Baseball League and some contract extensions, people keeping, people leaving. The Cubs are keeping Ramirez, 5-year, $73 million contract, and keeping Woods, 1 year, $1.75 million. What do you make out of that contract right there?
That contract actually shocked me because
you think that he still had. They want to just see.
I think that's it. I think that's it. And it's a good contract for Kerry Wood, in that if he has a good season, if he bounces back, this free agent market, with teams locking up pitchers so young and for so long, he could make himself a boatload of money next year if he shows that he's still healthy. But now it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me because he could have made a boatload of money this year
somewhere else.
I think that's part of the problem in that, and Buster Olney reported this in his blog earlier today on ESPN.com, in that this pitching market is so terrible. Kerry Wood could have easily got himself maybe only a 1-year deal, but maybe for $5 or $6 million as opposed to one for 1.75. That's how desperate some of these teams are for pitching. And it shows that Kerry Wood wants to live up to the expectations that have been placed on him, that have been, justly or unjustly thrown on him since May of 1998 when he struck out 20 Houston Astros. I think that was the worst thing that ever happened in his career, because after that,
everybody saw
more to the point of, instead of being a pitcher, Kerry Wood, it always seems like now he feels like he has to go out there and strike out 20 guys again, and his delivery was so violent, needed so much refinement, that he was getting himself hurt all the time. And I think it's part of the problem.
So basically this contract, I mean, it's a 1 year, $1.75 million. Meanwhile, they give Ramirez a 5-year, $73 million contract.
And that was well-deserved. He's one of the best third basemen in all of Major League Baseball.
But will the Cubs still be the Cubs next year?
I think so. I think with Derek Lee, with Aramis Ramirez, Derek Lee is going to be back healthy, and I think it's all going to work out for the best. But I think Ramirez, just a middle of the lineup guy. Sorry, the Pirates had to get rid of him to the Cubs for nothing. But I think that was a good contract extension.
All right, well, we are all out of time here on Competitive Banter. It looks like we may have went over the limit too. We had so much knowledge.
We did. That? I was fired.
You're on fire. I mean, this is my first time hosting the show, and it's a lot tougher than just freewheeling it.
Yeah. One more before we go, Sam. OSU, Michigan, Saturday. Who you got?
I got OSU.
I got Michigan. Go Big Blue, baby.
You would go.
Yeah.
That's it for us.
Take
care. Shit, Henry.